If your penis no longer gets firm in the morning, if you wake up feeling weaker, slower, and somehow less like the man you used to be, then what I'm about to tell you may surprise you, because the issue isn't age. It isn't low testosterone. It isn't even blood flow. The real issue is that every single morning, your body is quietly slowing down a little more, and no one has ever told you why. For so many men over 60, this drop feels like a private shame. You want closeness, but your body doesn't answer. You want energy, but your legs feel like lead. You want to feel like a man again, but something inside you feels dulled. And no matter how hard you try to ignore it, the worry grows louder. What if this is the start of the end? But here is the twist. Your body is not breaking, it is waiting. Waiting for one simple morning change that can switch your energy back on in as little as 24 hours. And before I show exactly how to do that, you should know who is talking to you. My name is Dr. Laura, and I have spent over 30 years helping men regain their strength, their confidence, and their manhood. Before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now so you never miss another message made to protect your strength and vitality. And if this opening speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0 and tell me what you need. Now, with that out of the way, let's look into what's really happening inside your body after 60 and how to change it. 1. The quiet drop after 60. Most men don't realize the moment it starts. There isn't a warning, no loud signal, no sudden fall. Instead, it happens silently, so silently that you don't even notice it until one morning you wake up and something feels wrong. Not painful, not huge, just wrong. A little less energy, a little slower getting from bed, a little more doubt when you look at yourself in the mirror. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet thought you try to ignore. Something is changing. For many men, the surprise comes the first time their body doesn't answer the way it always did. Not during anything hard, just a simple moment of want, a moment that used to feel easy. Suddenly the spark isn't there. The firmness you counted on feels shaky, and you try to laugh it off. Call it stress, call it tiredness, call it a one-time thing. But in your chest, you feel a quiet hurt because you know it wasn't just a one-time thing. And that small moment becomes the start of a fear no man ever wants to say. This is the quiet drop, the one that sneaks in after 60. It doesn't hit like a heavy weight. It settles over you like a mist. You start noticing small changes. You walk a little slower. Climbing stairs feels like more work. Your morning energy fades faster. You lose muscle you didn't even know you were losing. Your heartbeat feels softer. You're breathing a bit weaker. But even then, you tell yourself it's okay. You tell yourself it's normal. You tell yourself that every man goes through this and that you should just accept it. But acceptance is not the same as peace. You can say you're fine, but deep down, you feel a soft sadness, a grieving for the man you used to be. What makes this drop so mean is not the physical change. It's the emotional load. It's waking up and not feeling ready for the day. It's wanting closeness, but feeling cut off from your own body. It's remembering who you were in your 40s and feeling like that man lives in another time. And sometimes the hardest part is acting like nothing is wrong. You smile, you carry on, you tell your partner you're tired, you tell your doctor you're fine. You hide the anger, the shame, the fear. You hide it so well that even the people closest to you rarely see the truth, but you see it. You feel it every morning, the slow move away from vitality, from power, from the sense of self that made you feel alive. Yet here is the part most men never hear. This drop is not unavoidable. It is not a penalty for age. It is not a sign that your masculinity is fading. It is a signal, a message from your body that something key is missing. A message that your cells, your blood vessels, your heart and your hormones are asking for help, asking for food, asking for renewal. And the moment you understand that, the moment you stop blaming age, something inside you changes. Because drop is not fate. Weakness is not written into your biology. And feeling less like a man is not the last chapter of your story. I've seen men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s turn this quiet drop around completely. But before they turned it around, they had to first see it. They had to look honestly at their tiredness, their fading stamina, their quiet frustration. They had to admit the truth, not with shame, but with bravery. Because bravery is what opens the door to change. Bravery is what wakes up the body. Bravery is what allows a man to reclaim what he thought was gone for good. If you feel yourself in these words, if you see the small losses, the private letdowns, the quiet fear, then you are not alone, not even close. Thousands of men your age feel exactly what you feel, and thousands of them have already found that their drop was not a dead end. It was a turning point, because something amazing happens when you understand why this drop begins and what your body has been missing all this time. The moment you discover the simple morning secret that brings back blood flow, energy, and masculine power, everything changes. And that brings us to the next part of this trip, where I'll show you the surprising morning mix that men around the world have used for hundreds of years to stay strong, energetic, and fully alive long past 60. 2. The old morning pair, beetroot and ginger. Most men never picture that the answer to their fading strength could be sitting quietly in their kitchen, ignored for years. It surprises people when I tell them that some of the most powerful answers for male vitality were found long before modern medicine existed. Not in costly clinics, not in high-end supplements, but in simple roots pulled from the ground used by old cultures who somehow understood the male body more deeply than we do today. And yet, these foods are so common that most men walk past them in the grocery store every week, never realizing that they hold the power to restore everything age has tried to take. The truth becomes even more striking when you learn how many old societies depended on beetroot and ginger as daily morning habits for strength, staying power, and virility. Warriors, farmers, elders, workers, all of them turned to these foods before facing the day. They believed that if a man wanted to stay strong, he had to begin each morning by feeding his blood first. And they were right. Blood is life. Blood is energy. Blood is masculinity. When it flows well, you feel alive. When it slows, everything you value begins to fade. Your strength, your stamina, your mood, your erections, even your sense of purpose. That is why this pair was valued so deeply. It fed the blood in ways nothing else could. Beetroot, with its deep red color, was often called the root of life, not for poetic reasons, but because men felt its effects right away. It opened their chest, warmed their limbs, sharpened their focus. Ginger, with its fiery smell and heat, was seen as a spark, something that woke the body from the inside, stoking energy like a flame rising through the bloodstream. Together, these two ingredients became a morning base for men who needed their bodies to perform, whether in battle, in work, or in closeness. I remember a patient named Robert, 71 years old, who came to me with the tired eyes of a man who had carried letdown for too long. He told me he had tried pills, powders, drinks, anything that claimed to bring back his vitality. Nothing worked. There was a weight in his voice, the kind that doesn't come from tiredness alone. It comes from losing trust in your own body. When I introduced him to this old morning mix, he looked confused. He expected something complex, something pricey, something modern. But sometimes the simplest answers are the most powerful, and they're often the ones we miss because they seem too ordinary to matter. What happened next surprised even him. Within days, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. A quiet surge of energy in the morning, a feeling of lightness in his chest, a sense of warmth spreading through his body. 2 weeks later, he told me he woke up with a firmness he thought he had lost for good. The relief in his voice was clear. The thanks was huge. And beneath it all, there was something even more important. Hope. Real, living hope. That is what this pair offers. Not just energy, not just circulation, not just stronger erections. It offers hope. The belief that your body can still answer, still heal, still rise. Beetroot feeds the blood. Ginger wakes it up. Together they remind your body how to be alive again. But what makes them truly special is not simply their history or their cultural meaning. It is the science behind them, the measurable changes they create inside aging blood vessels, aging hormones, and aging cells. When you understand what these foods actually do once they enter your bloodstream, the picture becomes even clearer. These ingredients were not just chosen by tradition. They were chosen because they start powerful body processes that most men over 60 badly need. And that brings us to the next part of this trip, where I will show you exactly why beetroot has become one of the most studied natural answers for male vitality, and how its hidden chemistry can help restore what aging has slowly taken away. 3. The science behind beetroot. Most men would be stunned to learn that one of the strongest natural boosters of male performance isn't a pill, a supplement, or a drug. It's a root that has been sitting in grocery stores for years, unseen, untouched, and underrated. What surprises people even more is that beetroot starts the same body pathway that drug companies spend billions trying to copy. And yet, countless men walk past it every week, never knowing they're ignoring one of the most powerful tools for restoring blood flow, strength, and sexual vitality. Beetroot is not just another healthy food. It is one of the most amazing circulation enhancers ever found by science. Its deep red color hides a secret that becomes even more important as a man ages. Inside that bright color lies one of nature's richest sources of dietary nitrates, parts your body badly needs but struggles to make on its own after 60. These nitrates are not weak. They are not soft. They do not take months to work. They change inside your body into nitric oxide, a molecule so key to male performance that without it, erections become weak, blood flow becomes slow, and energy falls long before it should. I often describe nitric oxide as the language your blood vessels speak. When you are young, they speak easily, they open wide, they stay bendy, and they answer instantly to desire, movement, excitement, and feeling. But as you age, your arteries forget how to open. They become stiff, narrow, resistant. Nitric oxide levels fall sharply, sometimes by more than half after the age of 60. And once that happens, everything changes. You feel heavier walking up a hill. You feel tired even after light activity. Your heart works harder for less reward, and the most private parts of your body stop answering the way they used to, no matter how strong your desire remains. This is where beetroot becomes amazing. Beetroot doesn't just help the circulatory system, it brings it back to life. It teaches your arteries how to open again. It brings nitric oxide back into your system like a spark that reawakens the whole heart and blood vessel network. Men often tell me they feel this change before they can explain it. They say their chest feels lighter, their breathing feels deeper, their legs feel less heavy, their mind feels clearer, and yes, their erections begin returning with strength they thought they had lost for good. I remember a patient named Daniel, 70 years old, who came to my office worn out, frustrated, and worried that something inside him was dying. He told me he felt trapped inside a body that no longer helped. He tried beetroot hesitantly, almost doubtfully, expecting nothing. But within a couple of weeks, he felt something shifting inside his chest, a sense of openness he hadn't felt in years. Soon after, he noticed a firmness returning in moments when he thought closeness was no longer possible. And when he told me this, there was a shake in his voice, not from shame, but from the understanding that his body wasn't failing him after all. It was waking up. Beetroot doesn't force anything. It brings back what was already there. It reminds your blood vessels of their job. It gives your heart the help it has been silently asking for. Most importantly, it brings back the communication between your brain, your heart, and your most private parts, communication that had grown quiet with age. But the science becomes even more powerful when we look at how beetroot works together with other natural ingredients that don't just add to its effects, but boost them in ways most men never picture. One in particular has the power to balance hormones, raise energy, and fight inflammation at its source. creating a partnership that changes the aging body from the inside out. And that brings us to the next part of this trip, where we reveal the amazing strength of this second ingredient and why men over 60 often feel its impact faster and deeper than they ever expected. 4. The power of ginger. Most men would never believe that something as small and common as a piece of ginger could change the way their whole body feels. They'd never pictured that this simple root, something tossed easily into tea or cooking, could hold the power to lift tiredness, bring back energy, and reignite the very masculinity they thought age had taken from them. But what surprises men even more is finding just how deeply ginger affects the two things aging attacks the most: hormones and blood flow, the very foundations of male vitality. For many men over 60, the drop doesn't start with pain. It starts with a slow quieting of the fire inside. The mornings where you feel slower getting from bed, the days where your drive slips, the moments where want is present, but your body doesn't answer. These changes feel soft at first, almost harmless. But over time, they become a weight you carry everywhere. A weight that tells you something inside is dimming. Something that once burned bright now flickers low. Ginger is one of the few natural things that talks directly to that fading flame. Ginger has been used for hundreds of years as a warming root, but its warmth does more than soothe the stomach. It wakes the body, it stirs blood flow, it speeds healing, it supports the endocrine system, which controls testosterone production. Modern research proves what ancient healers knew naturally. Ginger feeds the very processes that keep a man strong, energetic, and responsive. It helps the body make testosterone more easily, not with man-made stimulation, but by supporting the glands and pathways that naturally drive hormone production. For older men, this gentle support is often far more powerful than any pill because it works with the body, not against it. I remember a man named Harold, 69 years old, who told me he felt like his energy had been slipping through his fingers for years. He wasn't ill, he wasn't weak, he was simply tired in a way that sleep no longer fixed. When he added ginger to his morning habit, he didn't expect much. But within days he felt a soft awakening, a warmth spreading through his chest, a clarity settling into his mind. He described it as a quiet return of strength, not explosive, not huge, but steady and reassuring, a reminder that his body still had life to give. And ginger's effects don't stop with testosterone. It lowers long-term inflammation, one of the most harmful forces affecting men as they age. Inflammation stiffens blood vessels, slows movement, dulls energy, and gets in the way of erections. Ginger works from the inside to soften these walls. It allows blood to move more freely. It allows the heart to pump with less effort. It allows oxygen to reach the tissues that depend on it most. Men often tell me they feel this before they see it. They feel their chest loosen. They feel their breathing deepen. They feel a calm that hadn't visited them in years. Yet what makes ginger truly amazing is how quickly men feel its effects when paired with beetroot. Beetroot opens the pathways, ginger fuels them. Beetroot starts circulation, ginger starts hormonal fire. The two together create an internal space where strength can return naturally, not forced, not fake, but real and lasting. Many men come back to me saying they not only feel physically better, but emotionally lighter, more connected with their partner, more sure in their movement, more present in their daily life. Ginger has a way of reaching into the deeper layers of a man's health, the layers where tiredness, frustration, and quiet fear settle in. It comforts the system, it feeds it. It reminds the body that vitality is still possible, still reachable, still waiting to rise again. And once that inner fire begins to rebuild, everything else begins to change. Mood, energy, drive, want, and the quiet inner confidence that many men miss more than anything else. But the most powerful part of the story is what happens when these two ingredients, beetroot and ginger, join inside the aging male body. The change they create together goes far beyond what either can do alone. And that brings us to the next part, where we reveal the true partnership behind this morning ritual and why men who try it often say the results feel almost unbelievable. 5. The partnership. How they work together. What surprises most men is not what beetroot or ginger can do alone, but what happens when they enter your body together. If you've ever wondered why some days your body feels completely empty, while other days it feels alive and able, the answer often lies in whether your blood vessels and hormones are working in sync. And that sync is exactly what aging breaks. But here is the part almost no one ever tells you. One simple morning mix can restore that sync in a way that feels almost like your body remembering how to work again. Many men expect drop after 60 to be a straight path down, but drop is rarely caused by one failing system. It's the breaking of connection between systems. The moment your blood flow weakens, your hormones struggle. The moment hormones weaken, energy falls. The moment energy falls, want fades. It's not one issue, it's a chain reaction. That's why so many men feel lost when trying to fix their health. They treat signs instead of restoring the connection that holds everything together. This is what makes the partnership of beetroot and ginger so powerful. They don't treat signs, they restore the connection. When beetroot enters your body, it opens your arteries, feeding your bloodstream with nitric oxide, allowing blood to move freely again. This rush of circulation is not soft, it's not symbolic, it's real, measurable change. And when that blood flow reaches your muscles, your heart, your brain, and your most intimate parts, something inside you begins to wake up. But blood flow alone is not enough. Your body also needs hormonal fire to keep energy, drive, and performance. This is where ginger steps in, supporting testosterone production, lowering inflammation, and bringing warmth back into the system. Together, these two ingredients create a kind of internal music that aging often silences. Beetroot clears the path, ginger fuels the engine. Beetroot expands the vessels, ginger strengthens the signal. Beetroot opens the door, ginger invites the energy forward. It is this pairing, this biological talk, that brings men results that feel almost unreal. Not because the ingredients are magical, but because they restore the natural teamwork your body once had without effort. I once spoke with a man named Lewis, 72 years old, who told me he felt like his body had turned back on after years of feeling cut off from himself. He said it wasn't huge at first, just a sense of lightness he hadn't felt in decades, then clarity, then steadiness, then want, and finally something he thought he would never feel again, the sense of being strong in his own skin. He told me with a shake of feeling in his voice, "Doc, I didn't realize how much I missed feeling alive until it came back. That is what partnership feels like, not forced betterment, but natural restoration." Another patient, Arthur, described it as his body remembering how to breathe. He had spent years feeling heavy, tired, and frustrated by the slow drop he thought he simply had to accept. But within weeks of pairing beetroot and ginger, he felt something shift. His steps felt lighter, his posture straighter, his mornings brighter, and the part that touched him most deeply was the return of confidence. Not proud confidence, but the quiet inner certainty that he was still a capable, vibrant man. This partnership also affects the emotional life of a man, something few talk about openly. When blood flows better, the mind clears. When hormones rebalance, the mood lifts. When energy rises, the spirit opens again. Men begin reconnecting with their partners, not out of duty, but out of real want. They begin moving through life with a steadier presence, a deeper footing. They begin to feel like themselves again. Beetroot and ginger do not create youth. They unlock strength. They reveal what aging tried to hide. And for many men, that rediscovered strength becomes the base for rebuilding every part of their lives, physical, emotional, and intimate. But as powerful as this partnership is, it only becomes truly effective when made the right way at the right time in the right form. And that brings us to the next step, where I'll show you exactly how to create this morning ritual so your body can take in every bit of its changing power. 6. How to make it. Most men are surprised when they find that a morning ritual able to bring back energy, strength, and sexual vitality doesn't require a prescription, a complex routine, or a long list of items. What shocks them even more is realizing that something so simple, so common, can create changes that years of frustration, shame, and silent suffering never could. Many expect the answer to be complicated because their struggles feel complicated. But often, the deepest changes begin with the simplest steps. Steps that reconnect your body to what it has been missing for years. When I first began suggesting this morning mix to my older patients, they would look at me with doubt. Some even laughed softly, thinking I must be joking. But there was no joke. I was offering them a chance to feel alive again, using items they already knew, items their bodies recognized instantly. And once they tried it, once they committed to giving their body this food each morning, they began to understand why simplicity is sometimes the most powerful medicine. Making it begins not with the items, but with purpose. The purpose to reclaim your strength, the purpose to show up for your body, the purpose to no longer live each day feeling like a dimmer version of the man you once were. This ritual is as much about honoring yourself as it is about feeding yourself. And when a man chooses to honor himself, something shifts inside him, something deep, something steady, something hopeful. The practical steps are easy. Start with half of a medium beet, raw or lightly cooked, or blend it into a smoothie. Beetroot needs no fancy treatment. Its power lies in its purity. Add a small piece of fresh ginger, about a teaspoon grated or sliced. The ginger doesn't need to be special or exotic. What matters is its freshness, its warmth, its ability to ignite the system from within. Blend them with a little water or juice if you prefer, and drink it before breakfast. That timing matters. Morning is when your body is most open. Morning is when your nitric oxide levels are lowest. Morning is when testosterone is naturally highest. Morning is when your cells are hungry for oxygen and nutrients. Morning is when your body is ready to change. But even though the steps are simple, the meaning behind them is deep. When a man begins each day by giving his body what it truly needs, the body responds with thanks. You may notice soft changes after the first few days. A lighter feeling in your chest, a little more energy when you get from bed, a calm clarity that doesn't feel forced. After a week, you may notice your breathing deepening, your mind sharpening, your steps feeling more sure. After 2 weeks, something else happens. Something men often whisper to me because they're almost afraid to believe it. Their morning erections return. Not weak, not hesitant, real, noticeable signals that their body is answering, awakening, remembering. This ritual works not because it is magical, but because it restores the natural processes aging has slowed. It brings blood flow back to the tissues that need it. It wakes hormone pathways that have grown quiet. It cleans, feeds, and fuels at the same time. And the best part is that your body does the rest on its own. You are not forcing anything. You are simply giving your body the tools it needs to heal. One man told me that making his beetroot and ginger drink each morning became the moment he reclaimed his life. He said it felt like lighting a match in a dark room, small at first, but enough to show him that the darkness wasn't permanent. Other men describe it as a quiet return of confidence, the kind that doesn't need to be spoken because it is felt deeply, personally, intimately. And once a man experiences this shift, once he feels this ritual working inside him, he often begins to wonder whether anyone else has felt such a change. He begins to realize he is not alone, that many men before him have walked this same path from drop to renewal. And that brings us to something equally powerful. The real stories of men whose lives have changed because they gave their body this one simple chance each morning. 7. Real life changes. What surprises most men is not the science behind this morning ritual, but how quickly it begins changing the lives of those who try it. Some men expect nothing. Some expect letdown because letdown has become familiar. But what they don't expect is waking up one morning feeling something they haven't felt in years, a little spark of energy, a little warmth in the chest, a little strength returning to places that had gone quiet. The real changes are not huge at first. They begin like a whisper, a gentle reminder that the body is still able to heal, still able to answer, still able to become alive again. I've listened to many men describe the weight they carried before starting this ritual. The weight of tiredness, the weight of shame, the weight of wondering whether the best parts of life had already slipped away. One man, Michael, 66 years old, told me he used to sit on the edge of his bed every morning wondering how he would get through the day. Not because he lacked strength, but because he lacked hope. He said every part of him felt slower, weaker, older, not in years, but in spirit. When he began the morning mix, he did it because he had nothing left to lose. What he didn't expect was how quickly his body began to answer. Within days, he noticed his morning sluggishness lifting. Within a week, he felt a brightness in his mind he hadn't felt in decades. And 2 weeks later, he wrote me an email with a single line in the subject, "It's working." In his message, he told me that his wife had commented on his smile, something she hadn't seen truly in years. Moments like these mean more to me than any medical chart ever could. Another man, Arthur, 73, came to me convinced he was too far gone. That was the phrase he used, and I could hear the giving up in his voice. He said he had accepted slowing down as his fate, accepted that closeness was behind him, accepted that energy was something only younger men deserved. I handed him the simple steps for the morning ritual. He looked at the paper and laughed softly, saying, "Doc, it can't be this simple." But it was, and when he returned 1 month later, he sat taller. He spoke with strength. He told me he felt like the engine was running again, and the pride in his eyes said more than words ever could. He didn't just regain his energy, he regained his sense of self. Then there was Harold, a man who entered my office with a tiredness I could feel the moment he spoke. He said he felt like life was moving faster than he could, like he was trying to catch up to the man he once was. But every day the distance grew wider. After starting the ritual, he called me 3 weeks later with a shaking voice. He said he woke up that morning and felt something he hadn't felt in nearly 10 years. Want, strength, presence. He said it didn't feel like youth returning. It felt like himself returning. These changes are not rare. They are not exceptions. They are the natural answer of a body finally receiving what it has been missing. And the most beautiful part is that these changes spread outward. Men tell me they laugh more, they walk farther, they talk to their partners with warmth and interest. They reconnect emotionally before they reconnect physically. They begin living again, not surviving, not getting through the day, but truly living. And yet, these stories are only the beginning. Because what happens inside the body when this ritual becomes steady is far deeper than any single change. There is a biological awakening taking place underneath every success story. A shift in blood flow, hormones, cell energy, and nerve signaling that explains why men feel so different so quickly. And to truly understand the power of this ritual, you need to know what is happening beneath the surface, deep inside the male body once the healing begins. 8. What happens inside your body? Most men have no idea how close they are to feeling alive again. They think healing takes months or years, but the truth is that the body begins changing the moment you give it what it has been starving for. I've seen men go decades believing their energy was gone, their masculinity fading, their strength slipping through their fingers, only to find that their body was never broken. It was simply waiting. And the shock comes when they realize how fast the internal shift begins, often within the first 24 hours. Inside every man over 60, there is a quiet battle taking place. Blood vessels tighten, inflammation rises, hormones weaken, cells make energy more slowly. Want still lives inside the heart and the mind, but the body cannot answer because the systems that once worked in perfect teamwork have grown disconnected. This disconnection is the true source of drop. Not age itself, but the fading talk between the heart, the blood, the brain, and the male parts that define vitality. When the morning ritual begins giving the body nitric oxide from beetroot and hormonal support from ginger, that talk slowly returns, and the effect is not soft. The first change happens in the blood. Blood that once felt heavy and slow begins to move more freely. Oxygen reaches places where it hasn't flowed fully in years. Tissues that have been quietly starving begin receiving life again. Many men describe this as a lightness, a softening of the chest, a deeper, easier breath. They can't explain it scientifically, but they feel it. It's the body waking from a long sleep. Then something amazing happens in the brain. When blood flow increases, the mind clears, thoughts sharpen, old mental fog lifts. Men tell me they suddenly feel more present, more aware, more themselves. The emotional weight they carried, fear, frustration, shame, begins to loosen. The mind and body start talking again, like two old friends reconnecting after years apart. As circulation gets better, the endocrine system reacts. Testosterone pathways that have grown slow begin firing again. Hormones steady. The body starts making energy instead of draining it. This is why so many men feel a quiet surge of drive, a want to move, walk, engage, take part in life. They begin waking up before their alarm. They begin feeling strong before breakfast. And in the moments that matter most, the intimate moments they feared were gone, the body starts answering with strength instead of doubt. One man told me he woke up after 3 weeks and felt something he hadn't felt in nearly 10 years. He said it wasn't the physical feeling that moved him. It was the realization that his body still remembered how to work. That realization brought him to tears, because for so many men, the deepest pain is not the physical drop. It's the fear of losing the part of themselves that made them feel alive, powerful, connected, sure. When the body answers again, even in the smallest way, that fear melts, and in its place comes hope. The longer a man stays steady, the deeper the changes become. Blood vessels soften, inflammation goes down, nerves become more responsive, muscles gain strength, sleep grows deeper and more restoring. The body stops fighting itself and begins working in harmony. This harmony is what produces lasting vitality, the kind that shines through every part of a man's life. But perhaps the most lovely change happens inside the heart. When a man feels strong in his body again, his spirit lifts, he stands straighter, he speaks with more sureness, he connects with his partner in a new way, not with fear or doubt, but with warmth, attention, and confidence. He finds his sense of self again, not as the man he was, but as the man he still is, under the years, under the worry, under the quiet hurt. And yet, even this deep renewal is only part of the story. Because to fully grasp why these changes last and why they matter so much to every man over 60, you must face a truth that very few people talk about openly. The truth about aging, manhood, and the meaning we give to strength. And that is exactly where we are going next. 9. The truth about aging and masculinity. Most men are stunned when they finally hear the truth that almost no doctor says out loud. Aging doesn't take a man's strength. What takes it is the moment he starts believing he's no longer allowed to feel strong. That belief, quiet and heavy, settles into a man's heart long before his body shows any real decline. And once it settles, it changes everything. It changes how he sees himself in the mirror. It changes how he moves, how he loves, how he hopes. For many men over 60, the most painful part of getting older isn't the weakening of the body. It's the fear that they are fading from the world, becoming less needed, less capable, less masculine. That fear is far more damaging than any physical sign. Growing older has never been the enemy. What truly breaks a man's spirit is the idea that vitality belongs only to the young. This message is everywhere, whispered through media, culture, even everyday talk. Men begin to take in the belief that slowing down is certain, that desire should lessen, that energy should fade, that confidence should soften with time. But none of that is true. Masculinity is not measured by age. It is measured by presence, by purpose, by the fire that still burns inside you, whether you are 20 or 80. I've spent more than 30 years listening to men share the quiet sorrow they rarely speak about. The sorrow of feeling their identity slipping, the sorrow of feeling unseen, the sorrow of wanting to be intimate but no longer trusting their own body. Some describe it as losing their edge. Others call it losing themselves. But what they're truly losing is belief. Belief in their body's ability to answer, heal, and rise again. And when that belief fades, a man's world becomes smaller. He takes fewer chances. He laughs less. He avoids closeness, not because he lacks desire, but because he fears letdown. But here is the truth every man deserves to know. Your body is still able to produce strength, energy, and sexual power long into your 70s and 80s. Aging may slow certain processes, but it does not shut them down, not unless you let it. Your blood vessels can still open. Your heart can still pump with force. Your hormones can still steady. Your mind can still sharpen. Your desire can still burn. And once a man understands this, truly understands it, something inside him begins to shift. He stops accepting decline as fate. He stops carrying shame. He stops seeing himself as a man reaching his end and instead sees himself as a man entering a new chapter, one where wisdom and vitality live together. And that is why this morning ritual matters so deeply. It is not simply about erections or energy. It is about reclaiming the part of yourself that age tried to silence. It is about proving to yourself that the fire inside you never died. It was only waiting for oxygen. When the body answers again, when blood flow returns, when desire awakens, you realize aging never took your masculinity. It only hid it behind layers of neglect, fear, and misunderstanding. But the most powerful transformation happens not inside the body, but inside the heart, inside the relationships that define your life. Because when a man begins to feel strong again, something deep happens in the way he loves, touches, and connects. And that is where we must go next, into a truth just as important as physical strength. How renewed vitality can reignite closeness, affection, and connection in ways that many couples have not felt in years. 10. Reigniting closeness and connection. What stuns most men is not how much their bodies change with age, but how quietly their relationships change alongside it. Many men believe intimacy fades because desire naturally disappears over time. But the truth is far more painful. Intimacy fades when a man stops feeling like himself, when confidence weakens, when energy slips away, when the body no longer answers the way it once did. Something fragile begins to break inside a relationship. And what breaks is not love, it is connection. A connection that once felt easy now begins to feel unsure, hesitant, distant. Not because the bond is gone, but because a man no longer feels present within his own body. I've listened to men describe moments that haunt them, moments when they turned away from their partner, not because they didn't want closeness, but because they feared letdown. Moments when they avoided touch, avoided talk, avoided openness, because they felt a quiet shame they could not put into words. These moments are not dramatic. They are soft, almost unseen. But over time, they create a distance that neither partner understands how to bridge. A wife may sense something has changed, but she doesn't know why. A husband may want to explain, but the words never come. And so they drift, not from lack of love, but from lack of confidence. What men often don't realize is that women rarely grieve the loss of performance. They grieve the loss of presence. They miss the man who once looked at them with certainty. They miss the warmth in his touch. They miss the energy he carried when he walked into a room. They missed the emotional connection that came from knowing he felt strong within himself. When a man loses that inner strength, intimacy does not disappear, it simply falls asleep. And the moment his vitality returns, intimacy wakes with it. I've seen couples who spent years feeling disconnected suddenly rediscover each other after the man regained his physical vitality. Not because their relationship was broken, but because the man felt alive again, alive in a way that allowed him to show up fully emotionally and physically. One man told me that before his change, intimacy felt like a memory, something he cherished but believed he would never feel again. But after restoring his circulation, his energy, and his confidence, he found himself reaching for his wife's hand without pause, kissing her without fear, holding her without self-doubt. He told me with tears in his eyes, "Doc, it feels like we're falling in love again at 70. Another man, Harold, described the shift beautifully. He said that when his vitality returned, it wasn't just his body that changed. It was the way he looked at his wife. He saw her differently, not because she had changed, but because he had. He said he felt capable again, present again, connected again, and she felt it right away. Their talks deepened, their laughter returned. Their private moments became close, not because of physical function alone, but because the emotional wall between them had melted. This is the heart of what most men misunderstand. Intimacy is not simply about performance, it is about presence, confidence, warmth, and the feeling of being truly alive. When a man feels strong in his body, his heart opens. When his heart opens, his partner feels it. And when she feels it, the relationship transforms. Touch becomes meaningful again. Eye contact becomes electric. Simple gestures, holding hands, sitting close, sharing a quiet moment, become powerful reminders of the bond that has always been there, waiting to be awakened. And this awakening does more than strengthen the relationship, it strengthens the man himself. He walks with purpose. He speaks with certainty. He enters each day with a quiet pride that no one else fully understands, but everyone can feel. This is the ripple effect of vitality. It does not stop with the physical. It spreads into every corner of life: marriage, family, self-worth, purpose, and joy. But even with all of this, the story is not finished. Because to truly grasp the power of this transformation and how to keep it alive for years to come, we must bring everything together in one final message. One that will show you why this journey is not just about health, but about reclaiming your life in a way that many men never realize is possible. 11. Conclusion. A new beginning for your strength and vitality. When a man reaches 60, 70, or even 80, the world often tells him to slow down, to accept decline, to shrink quietly into the background of his own life. But if there is one lesson I want you to take from everything we've explored together, it's this. Aging does not diminish you. Neglect does, doubt does. The belief that your strongest days are behind you does. But your body, remarkable, resilient, and far wiser than you give it credit for, still remembers how to thrive. It still remembers how to move blood with force, how to create energy, how to answer to desire, how to carry strength. It only needs the chance to remember. The men who came before you, the men whose stories we've walked through, did not find transformation because they were lucky or special. They found it because they finally chose to give their body what it had been craving for years. They showed up for themselves in the morning. They chose discipline over despair. They chose curiosity over fear. They chose hope. And hope, when fed daily with the right nourishment, becomes vitality. It becomes confidence. It becomes renewal. The lesson buried inside all their stories is simple but powerful. Your body is not your enemy. It is your oldest friend. It has carried you through every milestone, every loss, every joy, every challenge. It has done its best with what you've given it, even when what you've given it was far less than what it needed. And now, at this stage of life, your body is asking you for one thing: care. Not the desperate last-minute kind, not the kind born from fear, but steady, devoted care that honors what it has done for you and what it can still do. When you offer your body this kind of care, even through something as simple as a morning ritual, it rewards you in ways that feel almost miraculous. The truth is that strength does not disappear with age, it changes form. When you were young, strength lived in your muscles, your speed, your intensity. Now strength lives in your steadiness, your awareness, your wisdom. The ability to choose health each morning is a strength younger men envy. You are not becoming less. You are becoming refined. You are becoming deliberate. You are becoming the version of yourself who understands what truly matters. Vitality that stems from purpose, energy that comes from discipline, and confidence that grows from honoring your body rather than apologizing for it. And as you reclaim this vitality, something else awakens: your presence. The kind of presence that changes the feel of a room when you walk in. The kind of presence your partner feels before you say a word. The kind of presence that tells the world you are not finished, you are not fading, you are not stepping aside, you are stepping back into yourself. That is the essence of masculinity in your later years, not the reckless fire of youth, but the steady, warm flame that refuses to die out. So take this as your invitation to begin again, not because you are broken, but because you are ready. Ready to feel your strength returning, ready to feel your energy rising, ready to feel closeness deepening, ready to feel enthusiasm for life pulsing through your veins. This is not the end of your journey as a man. It is the moment where your wisdom and your vitality meet, where you step into a version of yourself that is more grounded, more alive, and more powerful than you ever pictured. Remember this lesson. Your body does not age in one direction. It answers to what you give it. It mirrors your choices, and every morning it gives you a chance to choose renewal. You do not need to live quietly. You do not need to surrender your desire, your strength, or your identity. You only need to give your body the opportunity to rise for you again. So tomorrow morning, when you stand in your kitchen, when you prepare the simple ritual that has helped so many men reclaim their lives, know this: you are not just feeding your body, you are feeding your future. You are choosing vitality. You are choosing connection. You are choosing the man you still are and the man you are becoming. This is your new beginning, and it starts the moment you decide you deserve it. If this message spoke to you in any way, if it opened your eyes, reminded you of your strength, or gave you even a spark of hope, I want to ask you for one simple favor. Show your support. It helps more than you can imagine. Take a moment right now to like this video so more men your age can finally hear the truth about their bodies and reclaim their vitality. And share it with someone you care about, a friend, a brother, a father, or any man who deserves to feel alive again. You may not realize it, but a single share can change another man's life. And I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me what part of this message resonated with you the most. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Your experience could inspire another man who feels alone in his struggle. If you believe in the work we're doing and want to help this message reach even more people, you can also consider supporting the channel through a small donation. Every contribution helps us create more content, more guidance, and more hope for men around the world.